Hey guys, here we are again. We're working on our Ford Focus. Now, as you know from last time, we changed out our main hydraulic engine mount, and the car is much better. But there is just a slight bit of a shudder actually in the car for some reason, which brings me to the fact that under the battery box there is actually another engine mount, which could be the case, which I'm pretty sure it is. I've had a look at that before and it does look like it's pretty much worn out. So, like before, what we're going to do, we're just going to remove our engine cover off our engine, like so. Here we go. Just going to put this down here somewhere. Okay, here we go. And we'll get started. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to undo these little tiny little screws here, which are on our aero panel. You just need to undo these little clips that basically hold this on. Now all they are is just a little plastic piece like that, and they hold this panel on. So I'm just going to slowly remove these, because we need to undo a lot more with this than what we did the last engine mount. This one's a bit more involved. It's not as straightforward as the other one. As last time, it was just straight underneath the air conditioning line next to the coolant reservoir, where this is basically underneath the airbox and the battery, so the whole lot has got to come out. So we're just going to slowly undo these. We'll take two on, and we just put those aside, and we'll do the same thing with this one. A bit windy today, you can probably hear the wind roaring in the background. Okay, get that last one out. And what we have to do then is just unclip this from the back, like so. And then that whole panel should just lift straight out like that. On the side, as you can see, what you can see there is the whole air intake, which leads to our airbox, which is what you can see over here. But we will be getting a different view again. So what I'll do first is I'll just remove this part here from this one, and we can just pop this out like so, and then this undoes these two. Not as easy as it looks. There we go. Got it. Okay, on to our next part. Okay, so our next part we're going to do is we're just going to remove this small section of the air intake, which is this piece. And then we move on to our hose here, which goes from the airbox into the throttle body. So we just need to, using a flathead screwdriver, we just unloosen these off like that. The sun's a bit shiny today. Okay, so we just loosen those off until we've got it. There we go. So now we can just get in there and loosen this off and remove that hose just like that. And the next part is to remove, there's a little cable tie. Normally there's like a rubber grommet on here, but when I had it serviced last, they just simply put a little cable tie on. As I think over time the grommets just fail, so I guess a cable tie just does the job, I guess. So we just push down on that and we can just simply take that straight off like that. Now I don't know if you can see it from here, but there's actually another small hose down below which I can just sort of like come in here, and this one is sort of like a vacuum hose, so that one goes from here and goes through to the rocker cover. So we also need to remove that as well. There we can see this is the little thing I was talking about before. So I just need to grab this, and with a bit of finesse, hang on. So I've since gotten this one off, so I just managed to remove this one, which you can see down here, and it goes through up to our rocker cover. So this one we just need to get off as well, just like that, and then we can just remove that from the car completely, like so. Okay, let's bring this around here. A lot of pipes and tubes, there we go. That's our vacuum hose taken off. And then from there we can just take off the airbox. We just have a couple little grommets that we just pull on, and that should just pull straight up like that. And there we go. And there's the airbox removed. There's our throttle body, which I was talking about before. Now you can just see a part of the engine mount there. So that's what we're working with. That's what we'll be replacing today. So next is the battery. Okay, now on to removing the battery. So first of all, just remove the battery cover. That exposes our battery. And then first of all, what we'll need is a 10mm socket, just to undo our battery terminals there. So I'll just get that ready. Okay, so just undo this one. Now the funny thing is with the focuses is you've got to undo the positive terminal first before you do the negative terminal. Normally it's the other way around, but just that Ford put the positive this end and the negative that end. Don't ask me why, but I guess in some ways they... Sorry, just moving my toolbox. They thought it was a good idea. Well, it still works. That's the main thing. I'll just undo like these battery terminals. Like so. It's a bit of a tight space in here. There we go. So then we can just get this off. This one might need a bit of a bang, I think, this one. Take it off for a while. Like they say, it doesn't work, whack with a hammer. Yep. Okay, finally got it. That was a bit of a tight one. Okay. Pop this down here. We'll just pull these wires out of here so we can just undo all of this stuff. Just makes it a bit easier. And the next what we're going to do is remove the brace which holds the battery in. So we're going to remove that as well. Geez, that's windy today. Oh, my socks off. Okay. Extender on for this one. Undo this. Just undo this one. Just undo this while we're at it. As you can see, even just getting the battery out is quite involved. Lift this straight out, like so. Alrighty. Now it's simply a matter of pulling out this piece at the front, and it'll just come straight out. And then we can just grab our battery out, grab the handle, and just lift, and then we should be able to lift out the negative terminal, and then we can just pull the battery straight out, like so. Here we go. Okay, that's the battery. Now the next part is we need to remove the battery box. That's going to be our next part we're going to do. Okay, so this is our battery box. This is the battery that well, there's our little battery just down there. But this is our battery box that needs to come out. So you can see just the 2 bolts there for the mount. You can see that there, but as you can see, what we need to do is this battery box needs to come out. So that's what we're going to do next. Okay, so using a 10mm ratchet, we're just going to take out the battery box bolts. We'll just get in here and we'll just undo these while we're at it. Yeah, I don't have an impact gun. If I had an impact gun, I'd probably get this done a lot quicker, but it all works well. One good handy thing with the Focus is it comes with its own tool shelf. Look at that. Clever thinking, Paul. Okay, so we'll do our next one. Just going to undo this one as well. Okay, and just going to undo this. Yep, a stiff one, this one. I'll just use my left hand, might be a bit easier. Here we go. Get more leverage in there, I think. It's just the negative terminal dangling around there. Okay, it's starting to loosen up now. I think maybe I should invest in an impact gun, I think. It would make the job so much faster. Okay. The last one probably takes a bit longest to get out. This last one, this one's a bit stiffer. So I think you get the general idea. I might just sort of hold it there and then we'll just wait until we've got that one out. Okay, so I've just loosened this last bolt out because it was going to take a while to get that one out, but phew, here it is. Okay, now with a bit of luck, we should be able to just pull this battery box straight out. Does get snagged here and there, so we just got to hold our face right. Hang on. It's going to be a little awkward. Okay, here we go. There's our battery box, and as you can see, we can see the engine mount a bit better now. That in the middle there, that is our engine mount, what we're dealing with today. But first of all, we need to remove some more bolts to remove that bracket that sits around it. And we'll be getting to that. Okay, so now for this bracket, I've got my large wrench here, and we're going to use a 17mm bolt on that, and we're just going to remove this. Actually, they come off pretty easily, these ones, which is good. Now at this point we don't need the jack yet because these are actually resting on the actual chassis, these particular nuts. It's not until we get to this centre bolt, let's move that out of the way, the centre bolt, that's when we need the jack. That's what's basically holding the engine up, engine and transmission. So that's why I'm doing these 4 nuts. We can then get in and remove that bracket. Of those. We still got to loosen them a bit more before we can actually physically get them off. Okay, let's get them loosened. Should just come straight off now. Here we go. Just undo those nuts. And just put them in our Ford Focus shelf. So as you can see, it's pretty involved what I have to do with this one. A bit more involved than what we did with the other mount, but it didn't really take that long to get to it, to be honest. So, and then with that, we can just lift this bracket straight out like so. That's what the battery box bolts to. And now we have direct access to the mount. Let's move this out of the way. Let's pop that aside. And we'll just get a better view down there so you can just see the mount just sitting in there like that. We'll get to that next. Right now, I've got a jack which is supporting the transmission. It's got a little block of wood there just to protect the transmission, so that's got taken the weight of the transmission before we remove the engine mount. Okay, so what we're going to do now, if you can see down in there at the moment, just move that power lead out of the way for a second. Now, what we need now is an 18, or is it 17? I think an 18. 18, it is an 18, okay. So I need to remove this 18 bolt. There we go, now she's coming out. Okay, so we've got the weight of that actually underneath, so that's starting to take the weight. Carefully remove this bolt so we can then remove the mount. Now the transmission may move a little. I'm half expecting that. Okay, so that's loosening off quite nicely. So we'll just carefully move that. Okay. Going, looking good. It should be loose enough just to undo now, I think. No, not quite. Okay, so I can hear the jack now taking the weight of the. Okay, this is all starting to loosen up now. Okay, so now we can remove our bolt completely. Oof, that's a big boy, that one. Look at that. Okay, from here on, what we can do is probably just pick that mount straight up, like so. Oh, we've got something attached to it. There we go. There we go. That's just let go, and as you can see, that's the transmission directly underneath, and that's where it's bolted to. And there's the mount. I've just gotten that out. You can see quite a few cracks in that mount when you look at it. It's actually probably explains the shuddering I'm probably experiencing. Anyway, we're gonna compare mounts. Now these are our mounts. We've just taken the old mount off. This is our old one. Then we just take it off, and here's our nice new one. There it is, all brand spanking new. Now you're gonna look at that and think, hang on, why do they look different? Okay, there's a good reason for that, and I can tell you why. The one I just took off actually has this metal brace on top. Now normally that metal brace is supposed to stay on top, and that's what holds your main center bolt in place. This one is straight rubber. Now normally when you pay for the expensive, you know, the flagship of the engine mounts, you get this brace with it, so you pay a lot more for it. So what I've done, I've bought the cheaper alternative, just as good as this one, it just doesn't come with this brace. So all we need to do is to move this brace onto this one. That's why they look different. But before we proceed with that, we're going to have a look at the old one. And as you can see, if you look in here, I don't know if you can actually see that. Actually, what I'm going to do, make it easier, we'll zoom in, but look at these cracks. Those cracks are pretty immense. Just to give you an idea, I'm just going to push on this. And I don't know if you can see that though. that is moving slightly, so that probably does actually show probably the reason why I was still getting the shuddering. I mean, the car's a lot smoother since I put the other engine mount on, but I'll tell you what we're going to do is we're going to remove these little bolts off here. I'm just going to use my foot to hold that, just to undo it. A bit hard when you're holding the camera. Now, I mean, these are already loose. I've already taken that off and actually had a bit of a look at it just earlier, but I'm just doing this for illustration purposes, just so I can just show you the mount with the brace removed, and you'll see the comparison as soon as I show you the without the brace. I'm just going to do this. Okay, now that's our brace that we take off. Now all of a sudden they look the same. There we go. But you can see now more clearly, yeah, the cracks that are in that mount, and as you can see, yeah, it's pretty sizable what's going on there. Probably explains the shuddering that's going on every time you take off. But it seems to happen when the engine's cold, so I dare say that when this gets hotter it becomes stiffer. I don't know, maybe that's the case. I'm not a mechanic, but I'm basically yeah, doing this because it's just a lot cheaper than getting a mechanic to do it. But let's just say I've done my research anyway, so at least I know what I'm doing. Okay, well, next thing to do, we need to put this brace onto the new mount like that. So, oops, just lose your screws, that's right. Okay, so that, all good, so that does fit. Nothing worse than it not fitting. That wouldn't be good, would it? So we're just going to screw these onto here, and then we'll just tighten it up with the ratchet. Just like that. Here we go. So normally to buy one of these with the brace, you pay a lot more for them. So I guess it's a good way of getting the job done. I'll just flick that around the other way, and then we can use the foot again, and then we can just tighten that off like that. There we go. Get nice and tight. And there we have it. Now there's our old mount and our new mount ready to go in. Okay, the next job is, as you can see, we've got the new brace on the new mount. It's ready to go in. So what we need to do now is place this in. Now the tricky part is I've got to line up this up with the transmission. So let's see. Yeah, obviously the engine's moved a little there, so we just need to move this over this way a little. Oops. To do is get this part. Now we've just got to get that to move so that drops into position. Sorry, bit of camera wobble there. Okay. Okay, what I need to do is just move my jack this way. Okay, so we're going to take a few goes to get this right. Okay, so after a few pushes and shoves, I managed to get that back in. And then we need to put our centre bolt in now. So you push that through the rubber, like so. And then we can line that up and then begin to screw that in. This is, like I say, the tricky part of the job. Oh, don't you move on me. Oh, you little bugger. Okay. Okay, so what we need to do is to get that on there. Now where's our transmission? Okay, so we just need to get that to line up like that and get our bolt in. Like I say, this is the tricky part of the job. Difficult than it looks. The problem is what they've done, this bolt, the hole in the rubber is a lot smaller than the bolt, so I guess I'm just going to have to break that in just so we can get that in and out a lot easier. So it's just a bit stiff to get that bolt in. Okay. Okay, with a bit of finesse and a bit of push and shove, and we finally got that in. Okay, so now we can do our centre bolt up now. I'll just sort of flick that the other way. And then we're just going to do this bolt back up. This is our centre bolt. There we go. Need a bit of brute force to get that back in. Okay, so I'll just position that just a bit better. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to lift the mount up a little bit just so we can reposition this mount a bit better. Okay, that's pretty good about there. Okay, that's good. Try to put the wrong end on. That was a good idea. Okay, so then we can tie this down now. And once I tighten this off, I can then release the jack. You can hear that moving into position now as it's going in there. So it goes to show how much the other mount has dropped significantly. So quite amazing, really. You can hear that mount positioning itself as you're tying it down. Okay, now this is what we need. Now, I don't know what the torque specs is on this, but it was a pretty good quarter turn. Okay, so we're sitting around about what we get there. Okay, I'm guessing around a good 65 newtons, I think, with this one. Yeah, there we go. That's got it. And then we'll just double check that. I'll just... Yep. Beautiful. All right. So now that's in. Now that is all fully in place. So we should be able to let the jack down. There we go. Jack is down, mount is in. Look at that. Beautiful. And that's in exactly the same position as the other one was. So absolutely spot on, perfect. All it is to add now is our, where is it, our battery box brace. Now that fitted on this way. There we go. So now we can pop these nuts all back on. We can see that pretty clear, can't we? Oh, good. Excellent. So these nuts just need to go back on. As you can see, that this mount is probably a lot more difficult to refit than what the other mount was. The other mount was pretty straightforward. This one takes a bit more work and a bit more push and shove to get this one in. I can see what happened there. The stabilizer mount at the back basically pushed the transmission forward as I lifted the mount off. So as you can see, what I had to do was I had to physically push the whole transmission back to be able to get that back into alignment to where it should be. I've seen that done before on YouTube videos and other videos that people have done, and yeah, they've had to use a fair bit of muscle to get that back on. Okay, now I was going to find my other socket just to tighten these bolts back in. Okay. Alrighty then. Okay, I'll just get them all down first before we start using any torque. But yeah, that's basically how you change the transmission mount on a Ford Focus. Not as straightforward as you'd think. And you can see why mechanics do it. And you get people like me who basically, you know, figure out how to do it. I'll just give that one a bit of a quick little spin. Torque. And these weren't actually on that really that tight. About a good quarter turn on these ones. Like that. Okay, go for the last one. And that last quarter turn. And there we go. Now as you can see, the mount is now taking the full weight of that engine slash transmission. So there we have it. That's now doing its job already. Bonza. Okay, now next we need to whack in the battery box. Actually, I've got that somewhere. Where is it? Whack this thing in. That basically just sits back in. Okay, just reposition your battery box like so. Make sure our cables are sitting above. And then we'll bolt that in. Okay, battery box, here we come. Whoops, yeah, there goes the camera. Sorry about that, folks. Hang on, yeah, we'll get this right. Pitfalls of trying to use the camera and work on the car at the same time, eh? Okay, so they're just a simple little bolt with a washer combination, and they just go straight in like that. Quite an easy little fitting. So we're just basically reversing what we did before, so we're just doing exactly the opposite to what we did, taking everything apart and then just putting it all back together. Okay, now for that last one, which is just up this very back corner here. This is the tight one. This one sort of takes a bit more oomph to get that baby in. So anyway, we need, I think it's a 10mm socket. Yeah, there we go. 10mm socket. I'm just going to change that one over. Okay. I'll just tighten this first one off like that. And one. Now this one takes forever and a day, this one at the back here. Yeah, just bounce around like a basketball. Hang on. Okay. Basketball, anyone? Oh, here we go. Alright, enough of the dad jokes, alright? What happens when you become a dad, right? You just become telling dad jokes. There we go. Okay. That's better. Now this one takes a while, this one. I'll just sort of use a really fast swing to get this one in. Yep, just like that. Okay, this is getting boring, isn't it? All our bolts are in now. That was just sort of dragging on a bit. Sort of, you would have been bored just watching that, just going rant the whole time. So yeah, there we go. So that's your battery box is all fully in now. What we need to do now is go our battery. Put our Mr. Battery back in. Put our ratchet there up on the focus shelf. A bit of a running joke, that, isn't it? The focus shelf. Okay, just going to move that over there. And then I was going to pop our battery without knocking the camera flying. But what we can do from here, we can just get our negative on there first. Yeah, you kind of do things back to front with the focuses. Not saying the focuses are back to front, they're actually a pretty good car. There's your negative terminal all put in. Just fix the camera a bit better there. Hang on a second. Now we can see better. How's that? There we go. Okay, that needs to go in flat. Our next thing is you can whack our terminals on now. Now the reason why they always say to take off your negative terminal first is in most instances if your positive hits the body while the negative is still attached, you can fry components in your car, which is really not a good thing, which is probably the reason why, I don't know if you can see the front of the car there, but the front chassis of the car is actually plastic. So if it did happen to hit that, it's not going to go bang bang. So, terminal on without too much crackle, snack, crackle and pop. Okay, now we can just let's get those terminals on now. Okay. Just going to get my little, let's see, what do I need? 10 mil. Little 10 mil socket. Now this one sort of squeezes right into here. As you can see, it's a bit of a tight spot to get into. Whatever you do, don't put those two together on the terminals because you will get a bit of a crackle. Not what you want. Matter of just being careful when you're putting batteries back in. Okay, beautiful. Actually, that sort of went on a bit of a funny angle, didn't it? Let's just fix that up. I don't like the look of that. Okay, let's just fix that up. Pull you back this way. That's better. Okay, call me fussy. Okay, so I'm just going to hold that terminal there. I'm just going to tighten that up. There we go. Yeah, it's still going to move on us, isn't it? Oh, but it's all bolted in anyway, so it's all good. Okay, so next is our battery brace. So I just need our longer socket for that. Visit from Mr. Harley Davidson. Okay, so next thing contortionist time. Okay. What we're going to do now, we're just going to put our battery brace back on. And actually, I'm just going to use my socket here for the minute, so we can just carefully get that on. There we go. Because it's like a bit of a deep recess we need to get that into. And the last thing we're going to do is go losing the nut. Okay, so that's on. Beautiful. Get this side down as well while we're at it. You can sort of just see that in the shot, can't you? There you go. Okay, just get that down tight enough. The other nut should be down here. Okay. This has been a very eventful afternoon. Hang on. Good on you, Mark. Just realised what I've done there. Hang on. There's one part I forgot to put on here, which is the front of the battery box. Okay, hang on. All good. We always forget parts that should go on. I just need to take this positive off again. I'm buying out the radio inside, probably they're thinking, what are you doing? Okay. Okay, so the bit we forgot to put on was this little panel here. Here we go. Our little battery cover panel. And it goes this way. Or does it go this way? That's right, it goes this way. Okay. So that just simply slides in like so. Clicks into there. Whoa, there we go. And that just tidies everything up. All your cables and wires all just pop straight in like that. Get that on there. That pushes into here. There you go. Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll just tighten that. Where's the ratchet? There we go. And then we'll just tighten this back up. Yeah, just I know you're probably saying, yeah, there's a bit of acid on my terminal there. Yeah, I did have to clean that recently. Might be up for a new battery. I don't know. Hey, be up for a new phone too. I'll keep this up. Okay. Okay, so then what we do now, we just grab these little cable tidiers and they just pop into here like so. I'm going to start serenading soon, like this point. Okay. That normally goes into here. And that goes into there. There we go. It's a tight fit. There we have it. Negative wire fits into that bit. And guess what? We can put our battery cover back on now. Wherever that went. Battery cover. Here we come. Here we go. That just simply clicks onto there like so. There we go. That's our battery done. Okay, our next step is to put our airbox back in. I don't know if you can see those on the video here, but these are the little grommets that the airbox sort of pops into actually. So this is our airbox that contains our air filter. So it basically goes in that way. Now those little things there, which you can see on the video there. Hang on, that's better. In the wrong spot. Okay, so those little points there are what push into these little fellas here. So what we're going to do now is we can just pop that straight in. Just line those up. Just be aware of a couple of hoses there. Hoses and lines. And that should just pop. There we go, and that's in. Now that does sit loose because we've got a little anchor point that sort of goes about here, or cable tie basically, which goes onto that bit, just holds it in. There's a few things we need to put back on first before we do that. So what we need to do next is our vacuum hose. This is our vacuum hose that goes from the airbox into the rocker cover, which is over here, where you see that yellow paint. The reason why they put the yellow paint on there, that's because they're all your main servicing points of the vehicle, and that just basically stands out. So all we need to do now is just position this in. Probably going to bump the camera here while I do this, but I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm just going to feed this back onto here, like so. Just got to watch out for that little connector there. Okay, I'm sort of holding the camera at the same time. Let's get this little fella in. There we go. Okay, so that's now positioned in. Now that's better. Now this basically hooks into here. So the first point we're going to do, we're going to connect this one in first. And that just clicks in, and then you just push that little surround in like that. And the one on the air filter here pretty much does exactly the same thing. So we just line that up. And then that should just click straight on like that, which it has. There we go. That's it. Okay, so that's on, and then our reinforcement point is there. So there you go, our vacuum hose is back on. Now, next thing we need to do is to put our hose on from our throttle body, which is here, through to our airbox. So I can just put the camera there now for the minute, and then we just need to pop this back into place. Okay, so pop this little guy over here, and then we just need to carefully just get this so that fully goes onto our throttle body. I think I got that right way around. Okay, it goes that way. That's it. Just got to make sure that that rubber surrounds the whole pipe, because the last thing you want is that doubled over, and you don't want that. Now just to get that inside point in. Ooh, got a tough little nut to crack this one, I'll tell you. Okay. Okay, hang on. Okay, while I'm ready to do this, we're just going to pull this out again, and then we're just going to pop our hose on the side here. I think it's going to be a bit easier, I think. Okay. Might be a bit easier. Yeah, there we go. That worked out a lot better. Okay. There's always a trick to these things. Okay, we can pop that back in. That hose is fully around. And it is. Yeah, there we go. That's got it. Alright. Yeah, they don't give you a lot of space to get those on, actually. That's the funny thing. Okay. Front screwdriver. Need a flathead. Okay, so what we do, we're going to tighten this back up. Yep, you can see that in the shot. Just got to pop that back in. Okay, vacuum hose is all in, just making sure they didn't pop out while we're trying to do that. Okay, now we can tighten up these adjustable bands now. And get the throttle body hose on. There we go. That's all nice and tight. That's what we want. And then the next thing we need to do is our air hose over this side, which attaches to our air box. Needs to go back in. Okay, so this is going to go onto here. That's the reason why this bit can be lifted up, because it gives the ability to get that hose back in there like that. Because you couldn't move that around, you wouldn't be able to get that off too easily. And then our next task is to reattach this one. This is our one here at the front, which is our main air intake under the grill. Well, above the grill, I should say. And then that just reattaches like that. And then there's a couple of little lugs which needs to sort of go down onto that. There we go. And that's all fixed into position now. That's all nice and tight. We've got our little cable tie, which we took off before. That's just going to go under here. And then just push down on this bit just to get that back on. And there it is. So that's all back on. For our aero panel, this is our aero panel. There you go. That gives you all your air conditioning specs, fan warning, etc. And this thing just simply just pops back onto here like so. Just slides in behind the grill like that. Just line those holes up and click it down. And I'm just going to find our little lugs now, wherever they got to. There we go. There's our little plastic lugs. And then we're just going to pop these back in. I'll just pop this one in first. Whoops, just drop one. And they just push in like so. What I might do is just move the camera up so you can see what's going on. I don't know if you can see that in the shot or not. I'll just come around here to make sure. Yeah, there we go. We can see that. So then we just push these in like so. And they just keep that aero panel in place so it doesn't take off on us. There we go. Yep. That's what happens, they go flying on you. Okay. This one's going to be troublesome, I think, this one. There's always one. I always say it's the curse of the last screw. And if you're either putting something apart or putting it back together, there's a curse of the last screw. I tell you, see? Okay, there we go. That's gotcha. And then what I like to do is just tighten them up, but then neaten them up so they just look like a little X as opposed to looking messy. So they just look nice and neat. There we go. Give that a little twist. Okay, so everything's all back in. All that's left to do now is to put our engine cover back on. There we go. Put our beautiful engine cover back on. And look at that. Job complete on our 2009 Ford Focus. Thanks for watching.